I joined this upper-level finance program at my college as a freshman. The program had us acting as financial advisors for underprivileged adults in the community for free. It was set up with two components. You could take it as an actual class for credit, which meant more work, or join it as an extracurricular club, less demanding but good for the resume. Freshmen couldn't join the class because we didn't have the prerequisites, but I was passionate about finance and helping people. My professor made an exception for me to join the actual class instead of just a club. I was excited but nervous. I'd be working with upperclassmen who had more experience than me. At the beginning of the semester, we got assigned to groups, and each group was paired with a local family. Our job was to interview the family multiple times and create a 20-page business plan for them by the end of the semester. This plan would be our final exam grade. My group had 3 people. Me, the freshman, Grace, a junior who was only part of the club side and volunteering her time when available, and Kelsey, a senior who became the bane of my existence. From day one, Kelsey had this air about her, like she was doing everyone a favor just by showing up, except she rarely showed up at all. We met twice a week for class, but Kelsey attended so infrequently that when I mentioned her name to classmates near the end of the semester, nobody even knew who I was talking about. Her excuse was always that she was sick. Somehow, this mysterious illness only affected her on class days, but never interfered with her social life, which she posted about on social media. She did manage to show up for one interview with our assigned family. Just one. And during that single interview, she acted like she was some financial genius, interrupting me, talking over Grace, and taking over despite knowing nothing about the family's situation. During that interview, I tried to discuss budget constraints with the family before making any plans. Kelsey cut me off and said we should focus on investment opportunities first. She bragged that her father always said investments were the key to wealth building. When the family father tried to explain that they were more concerned about paying down their debt, Kelsey dismissed his concerns. She told him to trust her because she knew what she was doing since her dad worked with money. The family looked at me with wide eyes, and I had to redirect the conversation multiple times. Whenever Kelsey did show up, she'd talk about all the things she planned to do for the project. In one meeting, Kelsey said she would draft the entire financial projection section. She claimed she had a spreadsheet model she'd been working on. When I asked when she might have it done, she said it would be ready by the following week. She also mentioned she would call the family again to get more details. None of this ever happened. About midway through the semester, we had a progress meeting with our family to show them what we had so far. I had written 8 full pages of the report by then. Grace, who wasn't even required to write anything as a club member, had contributed almost a page of good content. Kelsey had written exactly 1 paragraph, a short, generic introduction paragraph that could have been copied from any basic financial textbook. But during that meeting, Kelsey presented our plan like she was a mastermind behind it all. During the presentation, Kelsey started explaining what she claimed she had outlined in our proposal, telling the family they should focus on 3 key areas. When I tried to clarify who had contributed which parts, she dismissed me by calling me freshman and saying we were a team and there was no need to get into those details. I might have let it slide if she was just a typical slacker who stayed in the background, but taking credit for my work, that crossed the line. I had suggested early on that we write our paper in a Google Doc so we could all collaborate without needing to meet up constantly. What Kelsey didn't realize was that Google Docs tracks every edit by user. After that meeting, I decided to play it cool. I didn't confront her or call her out. I just continued working and documenting everything. When she'd say she was going to do something, I'd just nod and say, I looked forward to seeing it. Grace eventually had to focus on her actual classes, since this was just extracurricular for her. She helped review what I'd written but told me she couldn't contribute much more. That left me and Kelsey, or more accurately, just me. The weekend before our paper was due, Kelsey still hadn't added anything beyond her single paragraph from months ago. I texted her asking if she was planning to work on her sections that weekend. I got no response. I added several more pages to the report, documented the family interviews, and created detailed financial projections. The night before the paper was due, I sent one final text asking if she was going to add her sections that night, since the paper was due the next day. Again, no response. At this point, even if she suddenly decided to start working, she couldn't possibly match the hours I put in. Plus, she'd missed most of the family interviews, so she didn't even have the necessary information to write anything meaningful. I sent an email to my professor explaining the situation. I told her that Kelsey had only written one paragraph of our 20-page report, and that I could prove this through the Google Docs edit history. I explained that with a deadline approaching, I didn't think I could finish all the remaining sections myself and would like to request an extension. A few hours later, my professor replied saying she would handle the situation and asked me to come to her office the next morning. The following day, while I was sitting in another class, my phone started blowing up. Texts from Kelsey. Calls from Kelsey. More texts. I took my time walking back to my dorm after class, letting her wait a little longer. Then I finally called her back. When I called Kelsey back, she said there must be some kind of mistake because our professor thought she had only written one paragraph of our paper. I explained that it wasn't a mistake and that I had told the professor I needed more time because Kelsey hadn't done her share of the work. Kelsey said she had written way more than one paragraph. I told her I was looking at the Google Docs edit history right then, and it showed she had only written the third paragraph on page 1 on September 15th and nothing else. Kelsey said that couldn't be right and that the system must be wrong. I explained that Google Docs tracks every edit by user and that it was all documented there. Her tone quickly shifted from confusion to anger. She said I was tattling on her like a child and asked who does something like that. I told her I wouldn't have had to say anything if she'd done her work and that I wasn't going to fail the class because she decided not to participate. Then Kelsey tried to deflect by saying I should be complaining about Grace too since she barely did anything. That's when I realized Kelsey had shown up so rarely that she didn't even know Grace was only a club volunteer who wasn't required to write the paper at all. Kelsey claimed she had written at least 5 pages, but in a different document. When I asked her to send me that document, she said she couldn't find it right then but insisted she knew she wrote it. Finally, Kelsey said she didn't even need this class anyway and would graduate no matter what. She said I was a jealous freshman trying to make her look bad. At this point, she was just shouting incoherently. I told her she would not be touching my paper, and if she truly didn't need the class like she claimed, then failing shouldn't be a problem for her. I said I had nothing more to say and hung up. I went to my professor's office. With the Google Docs history as evidence, I proved that I had written the entire paper with a small contribution from Grace. My professor was understanding. While I was in her office, I noticed new edits appearing on the document. Kelsey was trying to add content and change what I had written. My professor sent her an email putting a stop to that. In the end, I got an extension to finish the paper properly. I received an A for my work, and Kelsey never showed up to class again. I later heard from another student that she had to delay her graduation because she failed our class. The family we were helping sent a thank you note for the financial plan I created for them. They mentioned how much they appreciated my professionalism and attention to detail. That made all the frustration with Kelsey worth it. Just because you're a senior doesn't mean you can coast by on other people's hard work. And just because I was a freshman didn't mean I was going to let someone take advantage of me. The Google Docs edit history doesn't lie. After staying home with my kids for several years, I needed to get back into the workforce when my youngest started school. The job market wasn't great, and I was grateful when I landed the position at this company with decent pay and regular hours. This place wasn't like other places I'd worked before. With over 30 employees, you'd expect some structure, but this place ran more like a kingdom than a business. The president had filled the top management positions with friends and family members who made up rules whenever they felt like it. When I joined, I signed a basic employment contract that outlined compensation, benefits, and work hours. Nothing fancy. The company didn't have a written code of conduct, which should have been my first red flag. My team manager was the president's friend. I'll just call her manager since we're not using names. She managed a team of 8 employees, including me. From day one, she made it clear that she ran a tight ship. We weren't allowed to make small talk while working. We had to inform her when we started our breaks and when we returned. If I asked a co-worker a question about work, manager would swoop in and interject herself into the conversation. She was a micromanager. The worst part was the mandatory weekly meetings. Manager made us come to work 30 minutes early once a week, unpaid, so she could recap the previous week. These sessions became a platform for her to tell us what we were doing wrong. She made it clear that attendance was mandatory. During one tedious meeting, manager brought up expectations for continued employment. The list was extensive. No swearing, no talking bad about customers amongst ourselves, no personal phones on desks, no music during work hours, and no talking to other departments unless it was work-related. Then she dropped the bomb about a dress code. We'd never heard anything about a dress code before. Our jobs didn't require face-to-face interactions with customers. We might see someone drop by once or twice a year. Most of our dealings were through phones or emails. Most of my teammates wore hoodies, long-sleeved t-shirts with jeans or leggings. I usually wore a simple top with pants and kept my hair neatly blow-dried. Nothing fancy, but presentable enough for an office where we rarely saw anyone outside our department. Manager noticed our casual attire and told us we needed to dress better and more professionally to maintain the company's image. She paused before advising us to dress not for the job we had, but for the job we wanted. She then made us all sign a document listing the topics discussed at the meeting, including this new dress code that wasn't really a dress code but more her personal opinion on our appearances. When I drove home that evening, her words kept echoing in my head. I texted a few of my colleagues, and we planned some malicious compliance for the following day. Next morning, I put my hair in a messy bun, wore my Costco leggings, and my husband's old oversized t-shirt. This was how I dressed when staying at home with my kids. Comfortable and practical. I walked through the office door the next morning, and manager's eyes widened. She asked why I was dressed like that. I told her she had asked us to dress for the job I wanted, and I wanted to go back to being a stay-at-home mom because I loved staying at home. Manager said that wasn't what she meant. She had meant bigger aspirations and goals. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing, but we were just getting started. My colleague walked in wearing full workout gear, leggings, sports bra with a mesh top, and running shoes. Manager questioned her choice of outfit, and my colleague told her she was dressing for the job she wanted, to be a personal trainer. Before manager could respond, another colleague walked in wearing her full anime costume from the convention she'd attended the previous weekend. Manager told her that she couldn't think that was appropriate for work. My colleague replied that she wanted to be a professional cosplayer and was dressing for her dream job. The last colleague to join our rebellion was a quiet guy who rarely spoke up in meetings. He walked in wearing a t-shirt with expletives printed all over it. Manager told him to take it off, saying that language was not acceptable in the workplace. He told her that he wanted to be a rapper and this was appropriate attire for his future career. The manager's face turned red. She was about to start yelling when the president walked by our department. The president asked what was going on and if Halloween had come early this year. We told him what manager had said about dressing for the job we wanted. The president looked confused, then annoyed. He took manager into his office. We couldn't hear what was said, but the meeting lasted over 1 hour. Manager came out looking subdued. She avoided looking at us for the rest of the day. The next morning, we all came to work in our normal attire, comfortable but presentable clothes. Manager didn't mention our rebellion. In fact, she never brought up the dress code again. A week later, we got an email from the HR department, which was the president's sister, saying that the company was making an official employee handbook. They wanted input from all departments about reasonable policies. Our team was asked to provide feedback on appropriate dress code policies for non-customer-facing roles. The following month, when the employee handbook was given out, it included a simple dress code. Employees in non-customer-facing roles may wear business casual attire. Clean, neat, and non-offensive clothing is required. Managers' weekly early morning meetings also disappeared. Instead, we had department check-ins during regular work hours for 15 minutes, not 30. I later heard from another manager that the president didn't know about many of managers' policies. Our dress code rebellion had exposed more than the absurdity of dressing for the job you want. It had revealed how much overreach was happening in our department. Managers' micromanaging decreased after that incident. She still tried to control everything, but now there were actual written policies she had to follow too. A little malicious compliance is all it takes to bring some sanity to an entitled workplace. And I still keep those Costco leggings in my drawer just in case I need them for another rebellion. I didn't plan to own a business, but life pushes you in unexpected directions, especially when dealing with entitled people. How it all started. I was 16 when I started working at a small local business. I needed cash and the hours fit around school. The owner had built the business from nothing. Let's call him the old owner. He wasn't perfect, sometimes cranky, sometimes cheap, but fair overall. I had a knack for the work. Clients liked me. I solved problems well. A part-time job became something I loved. I changed many life plans to keep working there. I picked a local college instead of going away. I made sure other jobs never interfered with my hours at the main business. Over time, I became the face people recognized. New clients asked for me. They often said to go to that person who works there. They're the best. The old owner noticed this. He hinted about me taking over someday. Nothing definite, just comments like, "When I retire, this place will need someone who knows it inside out with a look my way." I took those hints seriously and worked harder, thinking my loyalty would pay off. The betrayal. About 3 years before the pandemic, the old owner decided to retire. He offered to sell me the business at a ridiculous price that was obviously just for show. He already had another buyer lined up, the new owner. This new owner had a similar business nearby, but with little overlap in our client base. He had money and wanted to expand. I was so central to daily operations that if I had refused to stay, the sale probably would have failed. But I loved my job and clients, so I agreed to continue under new management. After the sale, the new owner put me in charge of daily operations, basically what I already did, just with more paperwork. He rarely showed up, so to most clients, I was still the face of the business. Most didn't even know who the new owner was. The downward spiral. Things were okay at first. The new owner called me the head honcho at my location and left me alone to handle things my way. Problems started about a year before the pandemic. The new owner sent me to an industry conference for 4 days. I took time off from my other job, which was fine. After the conference, I submitted my hours, and I was fair about it, only counting hours for sessions directly related to our business, not ones I attended out of personal interest. 2 weeks later, my request was denied. The new owner told me I wouldn't get paid for attending conferences. He said they were enriching activities, and while they would pay for admission, attending was on my own time. I tried explaining this was work since I was representing the business and learning things to improve our services. He insisted that was how things worked, and I could accept it or not. After several messages back and forth, I had to be direct. I told him I would still work for him because I loved what I did, but if I didn't get paid for this time, I would never attend another conference for the business. The money appeared in my next paycheck, but that interaction set our relationship going forward. He would try to cut corners at my expense, and I'd have to push back for basic fairness. When the pandemic hit, then the pandemic happened, and everything shut down. Clients were still charged monthly fees, but we couldn't provide services. Worse, the new owner had switched to a new payment system I hadn't been trained on, so I couldn't help clients who wanted refunds. I suggested we move to virtual services to keep helping clients during the shutdown. His response surprised me. The new owner told me I wasn't the boss. He reminded me that I had my chance to buy the business and turned it down. He said he was in charge and told me to back off and do what I was told. My phone rang constantly with clients asking for help with memberships and bills. I couldn't do anything for them. That's when I knew I needed to take control of my future. Over the next 2 months, I researched business structures and learned about starting my own company. Quietly talked to other staff about my plans. Continued giving 100% to clients through virtual services built a website and social media presence. What the new owner didn't know was that from working at home on backend systems, I had contact information for every client, names, email addresses, and phone numbers. The great escape. I waited until the end of a service month. I didn't want clients to lose value from what they'd paid for. On the last weekday of the month, I told staff to tell clients to check their emails at the end of the day. When work ended, I launched everything at once: emails to all active clients, text messages through a mass texting service, social media accounts, and website, and had trusted clients ready to spread the word. Within 15 minutes, my phone exploded with activity. Over 50 emails, non-stop calls, and our social media accounts filled with local people talking about it. Many clients told me they were calling the new owner to cancel. We hosted a Zoom meeting that evening for questions. We decided to take the weekend to sort out confusion and officially open Monday. An hour after my announcement, the new owner sent a mass text saying he was shutting down immediately. When the pandemic started, the business had about 50 active clients. On my first day, I had 75 signed up. Many former clients who had left told me they stopped because the new owner was difficult to deal with. They were happy I was running my own place. The aftermath. I never wanted to be a business owner. I was happy working for someone else if treated with respect. If the new owner had been decent, the original business would still be thriving with me running it. Instead, he was entitled and disrespectful, treating staff and clients poorly to squeeze out more profit. He lost everything because of it. We've been in business for almost 2 years now. We've nearly tripled the client numbers the new owner had and become an important part of our community. All because someone thought being an owner meant treating people however they wanted.